Welcome to More on That, a podcast by More Media Group. I'm your host, Emily Moore, founder of More Media Group, joined by my co-host, Will Caves, our COO.
This is a podcast about work, life, and the places they intertwine. Each episode, we'll talk to a guest who's chasing a dream or has a cool job or is just making great things happen.
This episode, we got to talk with Annie B. Jones, and it was such a good
Super
conversation.
Fun. Oh, yeah.
I met Annie through a mutual friend, Hallie, a few years ago, and Annie is everything that I want to be. She is a bookshop owner. She's an author. She's a podcast host. Maybe that's why I'm here today. I don't know. But we got to talk all things entrepreneurship, books, writing, chasing dreams, and our mutual love of Joe March and
right.
Little Women. Here's More on That with Annie B. Jones.
More on That is sponsored by Community Bank. These guys offer it all, from personal and business banking to financing and wealth management. They've got over 120 years of experience, and their home base is right here in Central Mississippi.
Yeah, we can't say enough good things about the team at Community Bank. We recently moved More Media's banking over to them, and everything has been so smooth. Every single person we've talked to has been helpful, kind, and easy to communicate with. I'm so thankful to have a bank I can reach out to and get personalized support from the same day.
They've got a ton of awesome services like their secure digital banking, and if you're dreaming of finally launching that business, there's a variety of business accounts you can choose from. Their experts will help you choose the right plan for you.
We love Community Bank, and we think you guys will too. Visit communitybank.net to learn more. That's communitybank.net, member FDIC. So, Annie, we have a lot to talk about because you do a lot of things that I'm so interested in. But obviously, first and foremost, we've got to ask about the bookshelf and owning a bookshop and how that came to be. Because it does seem like, and I want to hear your opinion on this, it seems like it's a lot of people's dreams to do what you do. Do people tell you that?
Yes, it definitely get a lot of comments, which I also, like if I knew someone who owned a bookstore, I undoubtedly would have said, oh my gosh, you're living my dream. And I mean, I agree. It was also my dream. It is, I believe I said this on one of the very first podcast interviews I ever recorded. It is also the hardest work I have ever done. Hardest work I have ever done. So the Bookshelf is an independent bookstore in Thomasville, Georgia. It already existed before I came aboard. So back in 2013, really 2012, the Bookshelf had a little outpost in Tallahassee, which is my hometown, Tallahassee, Florida. And I just kind of asked the owner, I emailed the owner and I said, hey, if you're looking for a volunteer, I would love to come, help with your store. And instead, I think a few weeks later, she was looking for a manager. And so I interviewed, became the manager of the Bookshelf in Tallahassee, Florida. Then the owner decided to close that store, which was devastating. It's like a blip in my mind now, but it was devastating at the time. And so she closed that shop after a year and then offered me the chance to buy the Bookshelf in Thomasville, which is kind of more the flagship store, the larger store. And the store had existed at that point about 35, 40 years. So I earned the store through sweat equity beginning in 2013 and took over full ownership in 2018. So I have owned and operated the Bookshelf since, 2013, I guess.
Walk us through what it is like. Are there days that you're like, this is so quintessentially what I wanted this to be? Or are there days where you're like, this is not what I signed up for?
Yes, that's true. So
that's right.
The days where I still get to be on the floor of the store, like even yesterday was a busy day. It was a Tuesday, which is a fun day at the store because Tuesdays are when new books come out. Almost like, do you guys remember like when CDs came out? CDs came out on Tuesdays. And so, new books come out on Tuesdays. So Tuesdays are a fun day. We get a lot of boxes. I no longer am in charge of inventory, but I happened to be down on the floor. I was redoing table displays. I got to interact with some customers. And any day like that, where I am getting to be on the floor of the store, still interacting with my Thomasville community, still handling books, getting them out of the boxes, putting them on shelves, zhuzhing table displays, getting products ready. All of that feels exactly like Kathleen Kelly from You've Got Mail told us it would be. Like that feels like the rom-com.
Which is what we picture. That's what we want to think it's like. Yeah.
And that is what I wish it was like 100% of the time. And it's really not like that. And we can talk about why that is. Part of the reason it's not like that for me anymore is because I wear a lot of hats, including a podcaster, I'm a writer. And so the job has changed. But also, nobody wants to watch a movie where Kathleen Kelly is like calculating taxes, you know?
Right. Yeah, correct.
Nobody wants to watch that version of the movie. So part of the reason the job maybe is not what I anticipated or harder than I anticipated is because I am dealing with, like, I remember you guys talked about the internet. One time maybe the first time I had either an internet outage or something go wrong, I all of a sudden, I literally went to go pick up the phone to call IT. And it was like, oh no, like, oh dear, I am IT. I am HR. I'm the tech guru. I'm the human resources officer. I'm legal. I'm the accountant. And, since 2013, I've added, I have a bookkeeper. I have an accountant. Like, I've tried to not wear all of the hats, but I think it is the realization, especially I came from a more corporate world. And so all of a sudden the realization that I'm in charge, like the buck stops with me, that was incredibly sobering. That, the taxes are my responsibility. The bill pay is my responsibility. And as much as I would love to be on the floor of the bookshelf, hand selling books, which is still my favorite, best part of the job. That's just not the reality of small business ownership. And as the store grows, I become more and more removed sometimes from the parts that I love the most, because I just think that's the nature of entrepreneurship a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about this. You were in Jackson this past fall, and I was supposed to have dinner with you, but a kid got sick, and I did not make it. But so I guess the last time you were in Jackson before that, when we did get to get dinner with our friend Hallie and our partners, we talked about this some, because before Will came on, thankfully Will joined More Media a year and a half, and now I do feel like I have someone kind of in that leadership role with me to split some of that with. But we talked a lot about this, about having to wear all the hats and be the person. And like, you said HR, that is, I still joke every time we onboard a new employee and I'm setting up their insurance. I'm like, if there is an issue, please report it to HR, because our HR is terrible and she probably did this wrong. She's not really sure what she's doing. So
yes, she's just following the instructions QuickBooks gave her.
If you go to the doctor and they say it's not set up wrong, please call me and I will contact
Yes, that's right. And I'll say from my perspective, I've got so much respect for both of you, because having not started my own business and coming into this one, I've inherited some of the responsibility, yes, but it's still, I can't imagine wearing that, like all the hats and doing all the things. And so, you got to have the support.
It's so hard. And you're right. Obviously our jobs are very different, but there are parts of owning a business that are the same, just kind of across the board. But when you think about it, like when I thought about starting a marketing agency, I didn't think about having to set up health insurance for employees and having to run payroll and having to do taxes. Like, it's like those are the things that you don't think about, but you have to do.
Right. Nobody thinks about those things. Like, sometimes I look back, because I took over the bookshelf when I was 27, and I think, oh my gosh, like I was so young, I didn't know. But I don't think anybody knows until you're actually doing it. It's one of those things that you just learn as you go, which for somebody like me who really likes to be prepared and to do things well, man, small business ownership has kind of turned all of those expectations upside down. Like, I have really had to grapple with any sense of perfectionism I once had, or, sometimes, you mess up. And, I think it's also maybe just more burdensome sometimes than I think people realize. Like, the idea of owning a bookstore feels very whimsical and romantic. And there are parts of it that are exactly that. And then there are parts of entrepreneurship, small business ownership, that are just heavy. Building repairs, and I don't own the building, but still I'm responsible for contacting the landlord or getting certain things fixed. And a lot is kind of on your shoulders, I think.
Well, and the fact that the show still has to go on, even when all those things are happening. Like, you still have customers coming in, you still have story time with the kids, you still have, like, the rest of the world doesn't stop when those issues pop up. And that's also what makes it stressful. You talked in, which we'll get to, Ordinary Times, Annie's book, and I have loved it. I've recommended it to a lot of people. Actually, one of our employees is reading it this week because we told her we were talking with you, and she texted me yesterday and was like, "This book is making me cry." I was like, "In the best way, isn't it? In the best way." But in the book, you do talk about a little bit of the business ownership, kind of some of the things we just said, but also, like, one thing that I've never verbally, like, processed or even mentally processed about business ownership is the people that come and go, like employees that come and are with you for a season and you feel like you're bonded and then they're just on to their next chapter, but you're still here. And I feel like you so eloquently talked about that in a way that I hadn't thought about. And that is such a real part of it that you don't, once again, when you're thinking about going out on this venture of becoming a business owner, you don't think about the people that'll come and go and just move on. You think everyone's going to be in this forever. And like, you don't realistically think that, but you never think about them going on to their next chapter.
I mean, I don't even think about, like when I took over the store, again, I was 27. So I don't think I thought, oh, I'll run this until I'm 70. Like, I just don't think you can kind of think that far. And so I certainly didn't think too far into the future. And I didn't think, oh, this person who worked here for a few years, and I'm very fortunate. A lot of our staffers have worked at the bookshelf a long time now, or at least, a long time in terms of retail. But I don't think it comes naturally to think about those things. And perhaps if you did think about those things, you might not take the leap into business ownership. Like you might not do it because it would make you sad or upset. And I think how I've had to kind of spin it is constantly thinking about the role the bookshelf plays in preparing people for their next thing and hoping that the bookshelf like sends people on their way prepared and ready. And so getting to be a part of people's stories, and we have former staffers who I'm still in touch with, and that helps too, like trying to at least maintain a point of contact with them. But there is a true grief that comes, I think, with owning your own business, just like with any maybe relationship or anytime you're building something. I think there is an element of grief that kind of comes with it, a bittersweetness for sure.
Yeah, it's like in high school I did theater. It's like when you do a play and you're all like a little like unit working on toward this one goal, and then it ends and everybody kind of goes off and you kind of have like getting a little
bit of
after.
letdown.
Yeah, it's kind of like that because it's like
letdown.
you build this team and you're like, this is the team, but the team's always changing, and so it's hard to continue to adjust with that.
We see that a lot with our agency. We'll do these big campaigns or a big like push or whatever, and you build, and Friday the 15th or whatever comes and that's the event day or that's the big vote or whatever, and it's over, and then you just
now
like it's like oh now what do we do? Like all these contractors that I've been in the trenches with, or all the our employees that I've brought along the journey, they just what do you do now? You have to. I think it's important, and I know you've talked a lot about this. It just to enjoy the ride as it is, but you do kind of have to like, okay, what's coming? What's going on? How do I make this better? How do I keep going? And
you kind of have to recognize it and mourn that thing and then move on. Like I do think there is an appropriate mourning period, or like, and we see it at the bookshelf even when we do a big event or something like that. Like I think about our reader retreats that we put on, or you kind of like you said, Emily, like you come on board, you build this thing, you kind of put this magic into the world, and then maybe not only is the event over, but maybe the staffer graduates, or they head on to their next thing. And so I think there is like a mourning period that comes with that. And then it's maybe, I don't know, it kind of helps me to look at the bookshelf, big picture, long-term legacy. And so to get to see all the people that have helped build her and all the people who have made that magic possible, I think viewing it that way is helpful. But there is certainly like that letdown that you're describing, I think is true.
Okay, I mentioned the book. I want to talk about the book.
Yes.
So Annie wrote a book, Ordinary Time, Lessons Learned While Staying Put, which I think is something that resonates with so many people. I think a lot of us, especially a lot of us kindred spirits, I think have these big dreams and thoughts of adventure and, going out to the big city and chasing the dream and doing the thing. And I think that a lot of people don't actually go and do that. And then there is kind of almost like a feeling of failure, I think, that comes maybe when you realize you're staying put, but we shouldn't have that feeling of failure. And I think you did such a great job talking through those feelings and working through that and what it looks like to stay put. Can you kind of tell us about your book and how you landed on that as the topic?
Yeah, I've mentioned this maybe in a couple of other podcast interviews or somewhere. But when I was first thinking about writing a book, I had all these essays kind of written in my head. Like I had a lot of things already kind of up here or, in blog format or newsletter format. I've been writing on the internet for a long time, and I've been writing even longer. And so finally, my creative coach, my business coach, she was the first person who said, hey, no, well, she wasn't the first person, but she was one of the first people I listened to who said, hey, have you considered writing a book, putting together a proposal? And I had considered that, but didn't quite know how. So I worked on a proposal. I dedicated an entire Lenten season to writing, for 40 days, kind of putting this proposal together. And then, of course, came the trying to find an agent, which I had almost no interest in doing. That felt so overwhelming to me. And through some kind of family connections through Jordan, I was put in touch with Jonathan Merritt, who at that time was an agent out of New York. And he graciously got on a Zoom call. He did not know who I was. I think he truly did it like as a favor to somebody. And he got on this Zoom call and I was talking about my book, and I knew I could see in his eyes, like I had 3 minutes or whatever to kind of pitch him this book. And he did not look super interested. And then I eventually said, I just want to write a book about staying, because this is something I've been thinking about forever. I mean, I've watched my friends move away. I am still here in Thomasville, Georgia today. As of this recording, I'm still here. And I just wanted to write about that. I had a lot of feelings about being the one who gets kind of left and who stays put. And that is when Jonathan's head kind of shot up and he looked me in the eyes on Zoom and he said, that's interesting. That's something
because there's not a lot
about.
Of books about staying. The books are about going.
That's right. And that's what an agent is so good at. Like an agent, I think, is really good about taking maybe what a writer is thinking about and processing and maybe kind of helping nudge them down the right path. And so when Jonathan showed interest and when we talked through, he worded it in a way maybe I wouldn't have, which is he said, it's kind of this countercultural idea, like this idea I think a lot of us think, and he included, he lives in New York City. Like he was like, I think a lot of people think that big things can only happen in big cities, and big things happen when you leave or take a leap or go on an adventure. And so what happens when the adventure is, a small southern town? And so that kind of set me on a path to put these, a lot of these essays were things I had already thought about, maybe in some cases things I had actually written, but to kind of formulate them and form them together in this collection where everything is about staying, whether it's in relationship or some cases leaving, where maybe I left the church of my childhood and things like that. I wanted to also acknowledge leaving, because we do both. And I say that in the book, like we both leave and stay. Even those of us who wind up maybe in our hometowns or in a small town, we still leave. It's just different aspects of leaving. And I wanted to pay respect to that. Like I have a lot of friends who have left, and I would never want to write a book that made them feel terrible for leaving, because we all do both. So that's
it's actually, it turns out the book is actually Annie's villain origin story.
That's right. Can you believe this person left me alone?
It's like the book from Mean Girls where she just slaps everybody that's ever left.
That's right.
Yes. Watch out. You're next.
Yeah, that's right.
I actually have the quote you're referring to because I really loved it and it stood out to me. It said, it's all an adventure, leaving and staying, and we'll all do a little of both over the course of our lives. And I loved that because I am by nature I think I will always be a lifelong adventure seeker, and that can mean different things, but I think even this podcast maybe came out of me wanting a little more adventure, a little something new in my life. And I think that, the book, it really does drive home that like, just because you're staying doesn't mean the adventure can't happen, and it doesn't mean that you can't still chase dreams and do amazing things. Like so much good can come from staying is what I took away from the book.
Good. I'm really glad. I mean, once the book came out into the world, it released in April, and I gave birth April of 2025, and I gave birth in June. And honestly, that timing felt terrible, but then I was really grateful for it because probably having a baby then distracted me from, maybe the reception that the book might have gotten. But only months after the book was out, did I fully realize, oh, right, like people in my town, it had made sense to me that strangers would be reading my book. I don't know that I had fully processed that people who lived in Thomasville would be reading my book. And when that realization dawned, I did look at my husband, Jordan, and I said, should the next book be about leaving? Should we get out of that? Like, should we
should we see
now?
ourselves out?
That's right.
And the next book can be about starting over and what it's like to leave. That sounds
An
great.
additional bookshelf branch that we open to get out of Thomasville. Yeah, that's I love that.
Yeah, to start over. Yeah.
There's a meme or something on the internet. You know the opening song from Beauty and the Beast where Belle's singing and she's like, these poor people like all around. And it's like, she's literally singing it while they're standing right there. And they're like, Belle, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, we live here. I think that was one of the maybe scarier parts is, like I said, I had pictured, the anonymous reader reading my book. And there's a scary aspect to that too. Like, not everybody is going to like Ordinary Time. Not everybody is going to like me. Not everybody's going to appreciate these stories. And that's okay. I'm a reader. I understand that not every book is for every person. But then there was something really terrifying about the people I go to church with or the people that own businesses next to mine. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been so vulnerable with these people.
Yeah.
To me, it was easier to think about being vulnerable with a stranger than it was to be vulnerable in my small town. And I did encounter, in the book, I write a chapter called Obituaries, and it's one of my favorite chapters.
Annie, I sobbed. I was unloading I was listening on audio and I was unloading the dishwasher and I started crying during this chapter. Please tell everybody what it's about.
Yeah. So you talk about the grief. We've talked about the grief that comes from when an employee or a staffer leaves. But one other thing I had never considered, when I thought about being the book lady and like Thomasville's bookstore owner, I had definitely thought about watching kids grow up. Like I had definitely thought about, these kids that I read to in story time, they're going to be teenagers one day, which is a fun thought. It's also bizarre to watch start to happen because now I've owned the store a long time. But one thing I had not at all thought about was what happens when the older customer, and a lot of our customers are older, what happens when they die? And what happens to that relationship that has felt so special to me, but to a deceased loved one, the bookseller, who's going to contact the local bookseller and be like, hey, my dad died. Like, wanted you to know, I know he was a customer of yours. Like nobody does that. And so this chapter came out of me kind of processing some of those feelings, what it's like to lose a relationship that you really loved. And what happens when those relationships maybe aren't as deep as you thought they were, but you still have to grieve them and honor them. So it's one of my favorite chapters. And I had a woman come into the store and her mother is mentioned in the book. And when I wrote the book, I was really worried about using people's real names. I don't know. I didn't know if it was okay and anyway, the publisher kind of walked me through that. And so I think all of the names in the book are actually the real names of people. And so, anyway, Rose is the woman's name, and Rose's daughter came into the bookshelf, and I did not know who she was. And she came in and introduced herself and told me, she was like, you captured her perfectly. And I did not weep in the store, but I came very close because that was so gratifying because it was like, oh, good. Like, I never pictured Rose's daughter reading the book. I mean, never in a million years, which is dumb. Like, we live in a small town, but I don't know. I just guess I thought Ordinary Time and Annie B. Jones would fly under the radar forever.
It did not.
So, no. And so anyway, to have her come in was so special. And we had such a great little conversation about her mom. And that made it feel worth the risk of being vulnerable. Like as terrifying as it is to know that I've poured out, not everything, but I've poured out a lot on the page for locals to read about. It was really sweet and special to have this woman come in and talk about her mom with me.
Love that.
Similarly, we talked with Landon Bryant recently. Landon Talks, I don't know if you follow him.
Yes.
And we talked about how when he first started posting, kind of what you just said, he was very self-conscious. He was like totally fine with strangers on the internet seeing his videos, but he was thinking about people like from his hometown that knew him, and he was like very insecure about it. It sounds like that's kind of how you are. It's like, it's so much easier. And I don't know why that is. I think that's really with anything creative, like with writing or creating, it is so much easier to show that work to a stranger than it is to someone that knows you.
Yes.
And I don't really know why. I mean, like, you would think those would be your biggest cheerleaders, and they usually are, but I think that's so much harder for us to share with people that we know.
Well, and my wife is also an entrepreneur. She's a therapist as well. So I get some
we need her to
free
answer
at home. Yeah, that's right. But I will say, we've talked about this a little bit, and I think you sort of project your feelings onto people. Like, you assume what they think of you or what they think of something based on your interactions or different things, and then you move forward with that context in mind. And so the people who are your biggest cheerleaders sometimes are people that you might least expect it from, because you know, you had decided already that, oh well, he or she judges my order at the restaurant that I got, or, you know, she was mean to me in high school or whatever, you know. And so I think I think there's a lot of context there, but I do think it's really sweet to see, you know, the people who when you open up, it's easy to open up on the internet. But when you open up to people and be vulnerable with people who are patrons of your bookstore, or, you know, your clients in an agency or whatever it might be, to see them kind of rally around you is a really sweet thing and a really cool thing.
I think you're exactly right. Like, you know, I didn't worry too much about what my parents or what Jordan would think about the book. Like, Jordan had mostly read the whole thing before it ever came out. And then my parents, I had sent them some essays. I had sent them a couple of essays that I wanted their perspectives on, but I didn't really worry what they would think. And then I didn't really worry what the stranger would think. But it was like this kind of middle acquaintance, where it's like they support the store or they know me, but they don't really. But now they're about to a whole lot.
For sure. It's the people,
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like, I maybe had projected my ideas of what Thomasville thought of me or what Thomasville citizens thought of me. And it was interesting to have those views. Maybe I wasn't entirely right-headed in what I thought their perceptions would be. It's also been, I mean, one of my favorite things was, I think in August, so the book had been out a few months, but a local Thomasville book club asked me to come to their book club. And I was so nervous because this was my first interaction with like Thomasville readers. And it was so lovely because a lot of people in Thomasville are stayers. And so they loved the book and loved talking about this concept of staying. And I also loved that they were older. I had one of my former professors read the book and he liked it and I was so grateful. But one of his comments was, it's very millennial. and I didn't like, part of me was
I appreciate that.
You're like, well, so am I.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yes.
And so, but then I've had older people really love the book. And so that was something that was really special to me, was watching, because Thomasville skews a little bit older. And so getting an older reader's perspective, and knowing that they found something to love about the book was also very lovely.
Well, I hope you take this as the highest praise, but you have a chapter in here about your grandmothers. I was very close with my Nana, who passed away a few years ago, but she and I used to always share books. Like, we would recommend books to each other, but there were only some, like she didn't, there was like a Venn diagram of like what there were some books that I didn't recommend to her because I was like, she's not gonna like this. But still to this day, I finish a book and the way I know it was a really good book is if I'm like, I wish I could give this one to Nana. And this was one that I'm like, I wish Nana would have loved this. Nana would have loved you, Annie. But,
I would have loved Nana, I bet.
But yeah, I was going to say exactly what you just said. I would think that a lot of the being nervous about your Thomasville readers was probably in your head because a lot of them did stay too. So I would think that a lot of them would be like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. So you got it.
Absolutely. So you've written a book, you own a bookstore, you've stayed, you've done your thing. You love wearing a lot of hats because you also have a podcast. I want to talk about that a little bit and just like how, tell us about it and how that came to be as well and what that looks like in the context of everything else.
Yeah, I do wear a lot of hats. I'm not sure I love it, but I do.
Your face just now looked like you were about to maybe drop one of the hats right here. You're like, yeah.
Actually, I'm canceling this.
Anymore. Actually, I could not keep doing all of this hat wearing. So back in 2013, when the bookshelf in Tallahassee had closed. So I was taking over the bookshelf in Thomasville. I was in the process of earning the store. And the now former owner said, podcasts were kind of like, I don't even know if Serial had broken in yet. You know what I mean? Like, they were kind of a newish medium. And the former owner said, I think you could do a podcast for the store and it would be a way to introduce you to Thomasville. And the thing about me, and what makes me actually not a great entrepreneur, but like I'd be a great chief of staff for somebody, because if you tell me something
we
to
just
do,
talked about this. Will would also be a great chief of staff. Can I tell you real quick what I said to Will? I was like, Will, you would be a really good chief of staff. And he was like, I don't know. I was like, yeah, like you could do that like for someone important. And he was like, I'm not ready to work for someone important. And I was like, Will, I just lobbed you a softball.
That's right.
You could have said, like, I already work for someone. Like,
I'm already that.
It was very humbling.
If the right offer comes along.
Anyway, maybe you and Will can go try to get chief of staff.
Yeah,
that's right.
Let's go.
Because he's no longer employed with more.
That's right. Yeah, this is actually my last podcast. That's my farewell tour.
I think there is something like I don't feel sometimes entrepreneurial enough, but I do feel really good at if somebody tells me what to do. Like, and so she kind of lobbed this idea of a podcast, and I'm pretty sure that day I went home, watched a YouTube video on how to start a podcast, I think GarageBand was already on my Mac, and I was like, okay, well, I ordered a microphone, like, let's do this. And so I came up with a name. And she and I kind of co-hosted it sporadically for maybe the first few months. And then it did become a thing where I was like, okay, if we're going to keep doing a podcast, it has to be serious, meaning I don't think this is just something we can do willy-nilly. Thomasville, by the way, was not listening in any way, shape, or form. I don't even think Thomasville still super knows that we have a podcast. But I did think perhaps the podcast could become a marketing tool for the store and a way to extend the store beyond the bricks of downtown Thomasville. So From the Front Porch started in 2013. We're at episode, I don't know, like 570.
I was going to say there's hundreds of episodes. Yeah.
So many episodes, guys. So many. You know how now they're talking about like AI and what AI can do with your voice and things. I'm terrified because there's hours. There's just hours of content of my voice on the internet. Yeah. So it's very sobering. I think my journalism major background really loved the podcast, and even maybe the writerly part of me loved the podcast. And I do think my brain skews more marketing brain than maybe fully business brain. So I loved figuring out a way that the From the Front Porch could extend the bookshelf's boundaries and also ultimately bring in sales for the store. And that took years. I mean, that took a really long time. It took a long time to find an audience. It took a long time to monetize it and to figure out, okay, unless you're a big podcast with big ad buys, like how can you make money? How can you bring in revenue from this thing that we do? So yeah, From the Front Porch it's well into its existence. Like I don't know what iteration. It's not like an angsty teen anymore. I feel like it's pretty seasoned podcast.
It's an adult. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fully fledged thing. But I do sometimes struggle, just talk about all the hats. Like I do sometimes wonder, and I've asked my friends who are podcasters or business owners, like at what point do you say, okay, we're done? Or, and the thing about a book podcast is content is evergreen. I mean, you can just keep creating content. And right now it still makes a lot of sense and I love it. I mean, we do a lot of projects through From the Front Porch. We have a Conquer a Classic program where this year we're reading Flannery O'Connor, The Complete Stories. We're reading her all year long. And so there's stuff like that really appeals to me as a reader, and the long distance customers we've gotten to know through From the Front Porch. But yeah, the podcast feels like a whole other job. I mean, how do you guys feel? Because you've started this. I mean, do you feel like you've added another thing to your plate? I mean, maybe you like that. I don't know.
Yes, for sure. Another thing to the plate.
For me, it's been so life-giving and energizing and fun. I feel like I was in a little bit of a funk with work. And I think because like I said, I need adventure. I need excitement. Part of why I love what we do is that it is always changing. We have so many different clients doing so many different things. But I think I kind of needed something to focus on and get excited about. And this has been it. So yes, it's been a lot. But I mean, I even told Will, I was like up last night working on stuff for it because I didn't feel like I had to be working late. Like I'm very good about work boundaries. I just got excited. And after the kids went to bed, I was like, Tyler wasn't home. I was like, I'm just going to work on podcast stuff, So yes, and I think I was going to kind of say that too. I think kind of the answer to that question is wearing all the hats and when does it become too much? I think as long as it makes sense for your business and you're enjoying it, I think that's okay. I think, you talk about that in the book too, but like similarly, you talked about the need to turn side hustles into businesses or hobbies into side hustles.
Yes.
And I think that that's kind of the same answer. Like, I kind of have this belief that if it makes sense business-wise and you're enjoying it and it's bringing you life, I don't think it hurts that it takes up extra time.
Yeah. And I do like podcasting. Like I said, it really does kind of maybe tap into the former journalism major person in me. And so, I still do enjoy it. And I think we talked off air, but I batch record. So I record multiple episodes at once. And that is also very helpful in terms of time management. And so I know, okay, today's a Wednesday. It's a podcast day. Like, I'm going to sit at my desk and, churn these out. And it's given the staffers a fun opportunity, I hope, to come on the show, and they talk about their book tastes, and it gives our audience a chance to know our staff and what they read and what they like. And so I still think it is a source of enjoyment. I think as I have added motherhood to the list of hats I wear, I am trying to figure out, how many hats is too many hats? And we'll see. We'll see.
That does add a lot.
That's its own hat. Yeah.
Because he was born in April. No, the book was April. He was June.
June.
So, because Molly, mine was January. So I remember you were right behind. Because I remember I was reading you also do a weekly email. That I read. And I remember she was little and I was like nursing her and reading your email whenever you told your email readers that you were expecting. And it was just so sweet, like, to read that. So I feel like it was really a vulnerable email about just kind of what that's been like for you. And that's one thing about in your book. I mean, even on social media and in your emails, I feel like you're just so good at like sharing your heart with your audience. And that's what helps people connect with you so easily. It's something that I don't know if it comes naturally to you, but it seems like it does. You're very good at being just real with people. And that's what people want.
I think so too. I mean, I've always said, and I don't know how true this still is, but I really do. If I say it about the bookshelf all the time, and I say it about myself, meaning if you see the bookshelf on Instagram, because a lot of people follow us there or whatever, and then you make a trip to Thomasville, I sincerely hope, it is my deep desire, that the bookshelf you encounter online and the spirit that you see there and the photos that you see there, if you come to visit us in person, it's the same, if not better. Like, you feel warm and you feel welcome, and the store is exactly as you've seen it online. And the same is true of me. Like, I really hope that if, somebody follows me on Instagram, or somebody reads my newsletter, or somebody read my book, and then they come to the bookshelf, or they come get to see me in Thomasville, or, find me behind the shelves. I hope I'm the same in both of those spaces. I say that. I will say a lot of people are shocked by how short I am. And that is...
but I was pleasantly surprised because, like I said, I'm also short. And I was like, oh, Annie's not that much taller than me.
I like to think I have tall energy, but I am very short.
You do.
Well, it's the hats. It's the hats
add
the height.
Those hats piled on top of each other.
That's exactly right.
That's right. We talked about a lot of stuff here, and I know you might have bridged into this, but something we ask every guest, the podcast is called More on That. And so I want to know what your more on that is. What's the thing that, you secretly love getting asked, or this is your soapbox, this is your thing you could talk forever about? What's your more on that?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean, listen, I really could talk about books all day. We also might differ because your industry is different from mine, but I do have a lot of opinions on AI and the role that AI is starting to play in the arts. I have deep concerns.
We could. That's a separate episode.
So we could talk about that forever. I really could talk about books and publishing and the future of the publishing industry. I could talk about that forever because that plays into all of my different hats that I wear, right? Writer, bookseller, literary podcaster. So you would think by now I might have grown tired of talking about books or the literary world, but I love it there. And I could talk about books all day long. And sometimes I do.
This episode is sponsored by Fuse.cloud. Fuse.cloud delivers technology solutions to thousands of businesses across the country. We've used them for internet at our office for years, and we couldn't be happier. Their customer service is seriously top-notch.
Yeah, we don't often have issues, but whenever we do, they're always immediately ready to jump in and help. We love these guys so much that we even named our password after one of their team members for a while.
Yeah, Ben is the bomb.
And our clients were always so confused, like, who's Ben?
And while you aren't required to reference their team in your password, you should look into using Fuse.cloud for your business and internet needs.
They also offer other services like voice and managed IT, and they're based right here at home in Jackson, Mississippi.
Check them out online at Fuse.cloud. That's FUSE.CLOUD.
We've got a few rapid fires, and some of them are about books. So
Yeah, now's your opportunity.
here we go. I wanted to ask your favorite book. I just don't know do you have one? Can you have one when you've read as many as you have, or do you have like a top 3?
I'll name one. I don't have a problem with that.
You have to get asked that a lot too, right?
I think, yes, I do get asked that a lot. And I mean, I really do have a great top 10 that kind of is in flux. But I think for today's sake, we will say Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. Marilynne Robinson is one of my favorite modern writers. I think she does a beautiful job of incorporating faith into her storytelling without being what we might call like a faith-based storyteller. Her work is gorgeous, well-written, thought-provoking. So Gilead by Marilynne Robinson.
Okay, I have not read that. We'll have to check it out.
That's good.
Yeah, who's been your favorite author to have visited your store?
Ooh, to have visited the store?
Yes, you've had some great ones.
Yes, we have had some great ones. I really do think, Sean Dietrich is a beloved favorite. So Sean of the South, he is wonderful in that he is, talk about somebody who's the same online as he is in person. Like, he is delightful. And that is not always true of people when you meet them. But he is wonderful. But I think one of my favorites is Annabelle Monahan. She's a romance writer.
Yes, I found her because of you, and now I love her books.
Gosh, okay, she's got a new one coming out called Dolly All the Time. It's excellent. But she is so witty and charming, and she's an author who supports other authors. So she's constantly talking about other people's work, promoting other people's work. And she's a really good writer. I think she writes really wonderful romance novels that are elevated and with interesting characters. And she was super fun to have in store. Through Reader Retreat, we have the opportunity to have authors come on the podcast, because that's not something, because I batch record, I don't do a ton of guest work. I don't do a ton of interview style shows anymore. But when an author visits for Reader Retreat, we will record a live podcast. And it's very tough to find an author who will have natural chemistry with me and then my frequent co-host Hunter. And she fit right in. She made jokes. She was quick on her feet. And I can't say enough nice things about Annabelle Monahan.
Love that.
I love that too. How many books do you read a year?
We'll say between 80 and 100, probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't get to 30.
Well, you read more. Well, I mean, I read a lot. Mine become. Yeah,
I haven't, since I've had Molly, I think I've read your book and 2 others. And that's
that's
right.
Listen, it's part of my job. Never forget, it's part of my job. And then you read thick books, which I was going to say,
mine are like
difference.
tomes. I've read, mine might be 5 or 6, but they're 1,000 pages a piece.
That's
so
right.
We're there. Page count, I'm up there.
You should do page count. My aunt does page count, and she always beats me in page count. But I do about 80 to 100. I'm really proud because post-baby, it is challenging. But again, I have to read for my job. But I've read 24 books this year so far.
Love that. Wow. And
I've read 2, but I'm coming for you, Anna.
I've read 10% of 1. So that counts. Page count. It's all about page count. Yeah, that's right. So I have something to say about this next question.
Okay, so it's a good segue.
Yeah, it's a good segue. So page count, and when there are no pages, audiobooks, does that, how do you feel about audiobooks?
Just listening to audiobooks count as reading? Yes or no? The official answer from Annie B. Jones.
Yes.
I knew you would say it. I knew you.
I listen, years ago, and it's okay to change your mind. That's an important life lesson for adulthood. But years ago, I think I'm on record. You could probably dig back. Please don't, but you could probably dig back through 500
episode 362 she talked about. Yeah.
And I think I said that I didn't think they counted as reading. And I will say I am not a great auditory learner. And so I think for me personally, I listen to a lot of audiobooks now. Really, I started listening during the pandemic, and that's kind of when I think my brain needed that. And so I really do like listening to audiobooks. I believe they count as reading. I also believe for me, I'm taking in that information very differently than if I were reading the book physically. So I do think there's different
If I couldn't count them, I just wouldn't be able to read anymore. But I also can enjoy a book more. I wanted to listen to yours because I knew you were narrating it. And I was like, I'm just going to feel like Annie's telling me all these stories. I think it can make some books more enjoyable, especially memoir. I think that hearing someone read their own book. It's cool. You feel like you're in the room with them, and it
and
makes
it's how
it more personal.
I wanted to narrate my audiobook, and I was not guaranteed that, which made me very nervous. And I think because of the podcast, they did not have me audition. They let me narrate my own audiobook, and I was so grateful.
It did make it feel so much more personal.
Yeah, and those are they're personal stories. And so my sweet spot in audiobook, first of all, what speed do you listen on, Emily?
I'm a 1.5.
Okay, whew. That is I'm a 1.2. That's about as high as I can go.
I've had to slowly get there. Like it's been a gradual, like I was a 1.2 for a while and then I inched up now. And sometimes I will start a book. Well, if it's fiction, sometimes I will start lower to like get in the story and then I'll increase as I feel like I have a handle on. Like,
as you get used to the narrator.
It is hard to jump into a fiction. I'm currently listening on audio to Theo of Golden and I had to start that one slower because I felt like I really needed to like get in Golden, you know, but now that I'm there, I'm back up to 1.5. So,
I feel like you also move at 1.5 speed too.
I do. I'm a fast and I'm usually running listening to a book, so everything's kind of just moving fast.
I will say this rapid fire round is we're talking about audiobooks. My daughter is dyslexic, and so she's 9, and audiobooks have opened up such an audiobook for her. Whereas I probably would have historically agreed that like, I don't know that it counts, whatever. She is an avid reader, audiobook reader, and loves it, and that's we do it every day for like hours. She'll come home and get on the iPad and go. Yeah.
Isn't that an important life lesson? Like, I think that was the thing. Years ago, I would have maybe said, and I think, like I said, I think I did say, oh, no, they don't count as reading. And my husband listens to audiobooks because of his commute, and he is an auditory learner. And for him, it is way better than reading a physical book. He can take it in a lot better. And I think for a lot of readers who struggle with reading disabilities or learning disabilities, like I think it is super helpful. And so I'm glad my mind has been changed on that.
Love that.
Okay, we have 2 more rapid fire questions, but can I guess your answer before you say it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, your Hogwarts house. You may have said this at some point, but I can't remember. Are you a Ravenclaw?
I'm a Gryffindor for real.
Okay. Is it offensive that I guessed you were a Ravenclaw?
No, I think people do because I'm an Enneagram 5. I'm nerdy. I like research. I think the assumption is Ravenclaw, but I am for real, not just making it up. You know, some people just claim Gryffindor, but no, I'm real.
Gryffindor.
I'm Gryffindor.
I'm a Gryffindor as well. So I also feel like my guess. Okay, I have a guess for the next one, and I feel like I have the same answer if it is. Maybe I'm just giving you my answers. No,
as we talked about projecting onto people earlier.
What character that most describes you? Can I guess who I think you're going to say?
Yes.
Do you have your answer?
Yes.
Jo March.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct. I feel such a deep kinship with Jo. And I reread Little Women probably 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know now, 2 or 3 winters ago. We read it starting on Christmas Eve because the book opens at Christmas Eve. And it was one of the most wonderful reading experiences. But I reread it as an adult, and I've always loved Jo. And I worried that I wouldn't feel a kinship with her anymore because I've gotten older. But anyway, something about Jo that I do find deeply resonant is she hates change. She's so afraid of change. And I read that. I don't know that I would ever have picked up on that, you know, as an 8-year-old, 12-year-old, like reading about Jo March as a kid. But as an adult, I felt like, oh yeah, there she is. Like the sister who wants everything to stay the same. The person who wants everybody's relationships to stay the same. I think she would appreciate ordinary time.
Oh, she 100% would appreciate ordinary time. I too feel a kindred spirit with Jo March. I kind of similar but different. Grew up resonating with her in the movie. Whenever I was a kid watching it at my grandmother's house, like it was one of the VHS tapes she had, and I watched it all the time. I did not read the book ever until and it was probably 3 or 4 years ago. Ren was a baby, so I read the book for the first time and resonated even more with her in the book, obviously, than the movie. But always okay. And I have to tell you one more thing on Jo March. You have to listen to our episode. You don't have to listen to our podcast, but you do have to listen to the episode. We recently interviewed Taryn Smith, who rowed all the way across the Atlantic, like in a boat, like rowed a boat. So by herself, first American woman to ever do it as part of the world.
How did you guys get her on? Is she from... Where?
No, I just I followed her story on Instagram, and I just reached out on her website and was like, hey, we're starting a podcast. Would you talk to us? And she said yes.
She said yes. And
it was
great.
You're amazing. I will listen to that episode because I did follow her journey.
Okay, well, then you may already know this, but she had a bird that followed her boat the entire row, and she named her Joe March. And
oh, how cool.
She was with
I
her
didn't
the
know
whole
that.
row. And then she just
fun.
abandoned her in Antigua. And, Taryn came back to the States, and Joe March is
living
stuck
her
in
best
Antigua
life somewhere. Yeah, love that.
That's accurate for Joe. That feels
Yeah.
right.
But she talked about that. I just thought that was so cute
That's
that she
super
named
fun.
her Joe March, and she was just with her the whole journey.
Love it.
Oh, that's so
Awesome.
special.
Well, Annie, how can people find you online and follow your journey and your various hats as you wear? How can they
So
find
many
you?
things.
Yes.
So if you're interested in the bookshelf, you can follow the bookshelf on Instagram at bookshelftville. And then you can find our store podcast called From the Front Porch anywhere you get your podcasts. If you're interested in me, Annie B. Jones, as a writer, you can follow me at Annie B. Jones 05 on Instagram. I also have AnnieBJonesWrites.com, and that's where you can find links to my Sunday porch visits. You can find information about Ordinary Time. That's pretty succinct, actually.
All the things. We'll cut a whole separate episode of how to find Annie.
The podcast description is just bullet points of where to find Annie.
I will say, do you still have signed copies of Ordinary Time at the bookshelf?
Yes,
So
I
if
signed
they
them
order
all.
Ordinary Time from the bookshelf, you can get a signed copy from
Love
Annie.
that.
And
Awesome.
I guess I should plug, I don't know when this episode is coming out, but the paperback is coming out in April. And it's got 2 bonus chapters, including one about my son and kind of how he changed and rocked my world a little bit.
Love that.
I love that. Well, I guess
Awesome.
now I'll have to get the paperback too.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Annie, for joining us. And thank you for listening to the More on That podcast. You can check us out online at themoremediagroup.com or at More Media Group on socials. That's More with 2 O's. See you next time.
This may be obvious, but More on That is sponsored in part by our company, More Media Group. We're a full-service marketing and public relations agency located in Jackson, Mississippi. We offer help with public relations, advertising, social media, branding, and website design.
Yeah, if it falls under the marketing umbrella, we can help. Our team has worked with clients across several industries, including tourism, healthcare, economic development, higher ed, food and beverage, and more.
If you think we'd be a good fit, check us out at themoremediagroup.com. That's More with 2 O's. Before we go, we want to give one more thank you to our presenting sponsor, Community Bank. Whether you're looking for personal or business banking, Community Bank is the place to go.
They're helpful, responsive, and always updating their services to provide the very best banking options to their customers. Visit communitybank.net to learn more. Member FDIC.